County of Nassau for the purpose of undertaking a community development program under Title I of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, as amended, and Title II of the National Affordable Housing Act of 1990 as amended, for inclusion in the city's community development program for the 2020-2021 46th year.
Okay, I guess, Ryan, you have some updates for us on this.
Yes, good evening, Council. Ryan McKinnon, Acting Director of Community Development. So we had a public hearing 2 meetings ago, so we're here tonight to approve the application, or to allow the city manager to execute contract with the CDBG application. We provided details on previous program years, and tonight I'll give some more details on what we're looking to apply for in the 46th year. I will advise the council that the application is due by April 1st, so we do have the next 13 days or so to actually figure out what we want to do with the application. I know we've all been focused on the COVID response and they have not had much time to review this, so we do have the next 2 weeks to determine what we'd like to do. So with that, the city will be applying for a total of $400,000 in funding, give or take $10,000 or $20,000 depending on costs. I'll get into the issue that we ran into later when I get into the public services and the nonprofit that applied to the city program. But first, I'll get into the public facility improvement projects. The first being $100,000 for residential rehabilitation. This is something the city has applied for nominally the past $20,000 to $30,000 for low to moderate income residents to do resiliency upgrades, accessibility upgrades, energy efficiency upgrades in their home. The project, again, will be provided to low to moderate income homeowners. This would meet HUD's main national objective for CDBG funding, which is fair housing, and would continue, would allow this city's residents to continue to rebuild after, as we're seeing Sandy recovery funds provide up. We had traditionally, again, we applied for about $20,000 in years past, but I think this level of funding, again, with those Sandy funds being dried up, will have a significant impact addressing low to moderate income housing rehab needs, especially in the North Park area. The second project is recreation center upgrades. We've worked with recreation staff and building maintenance staff to do a walkthrough of the recreation center. It's in dire need of some upgrade there. So this project would focus on the pool area. The liner is, a new liner is needed, which is estimated to be about $75,000 itself. There's also needs for pool access. There's a rickety ladder that we'd like to replace, or even provide steps or some kind of lift out of the pool for especially our senior programs that happen there. And there's also some issues with the doors that were not addressed since Sandy. The next project would be code enforcement. For $20,000, the city has a proposal to include an affordable zoning overlay for the North Park community. If approved, this funding could allow for dedicated outreach and enforcement of new zoning. If not, similarly, we could enforce the zoning that currently exists, especially not necessarily the zoning, but the building codes, and addressing some of the blight in some of the homes, especially in the North Park area. So that's something that we definitely want to address either way. Then $50,000 for City Hall upgrades. Funds I would look to use to upgrade the City Council chamber. The space has been long discussed for improvements, and the need for such upgrades have been voiced by the public at council meetings, especially in the last year. It's something I attend almost every council meeting, and something almost once a month. With the new Office for Emergency Management and upgrades to this dais, I think it's important to reimagine the space for more public use and accessibility, including the removal of pews behind us, for more movable chairs and tables that will allow more of an interactive public meeting space and provide better space for nonprofits and others to use. The next project we propose is $50,000 for street improvements. The city continues to reconstruct and repave roadways using capital and GOSER funding. As the GOSER funding dries up, the capital plan is obviously going to have to be used more, so I would suggest this funding be used to supplement existing projects in low and moderate income areas for traffic calming measures and tree plantings, including in the West End. There's currently GOSER funding. For those at home, the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, GOSER funding to repave West Park Avenue from New York to Nevada. The entirety of what the West End is not in a CDBG eligible area, but there are significant swaths of that roadway that would be eligible. And there's also the North Park, the FEMA critical infrastructure project, along which will occur, pump station that's going to be built there in North Park, which is along Riverside Boulevard. So we look to use funds to supplement not only the road projects for drainage in the West End, but also when they potentially do some trenching in Riverside Boulevard, to use these funds to do some traffic calming measures and potentially some tree planting to improve the quality of life in those areas. And the last facility and improvement we have is the issue that I was talking about before. So we had 6 nonprofits apply for public service funding. One of them was the Historical Society. They would like to do building improvements at their location, so they would not be eligible for the public service funding. So I would like to suggest that we look to include $20,000 for the Historical Society, which would come, which has been done for local churches in the past and would be used to replace some of the stucco and rehabilitate the front porch, which I understand is starting to fall. So those are the public facility improvement projects. The 5 remaining nonprofits that will receive public service funding at their requested $10,000 each. One for the Darby Foundation STEAM Academy program, which will be used for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, tutoring for after-school programs at the Evangelical Church. The Latino $10,000 for the Latino Civic Association Youth Leadership Program. $10,000 for the Long Beach Reach Substance Abuse Program, and $10,000 for a Martin Luther King Incorporated Youth Program. That would also include $20,000 for the city's existing senior program, which $20,000 has been what's been running at it for the last couple of years. So we'd like to get that funding maintained as well.
I'm sorry, is that the 5th one, the senior program? You said there were 5.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, yes. So there was 5 nonprofits. The city is also eligible to have public service money. That's where the money for our senior program at the MLK Center has been coming from for the last 2 or 3 years.
Which will be 4 independent nonprofits, and the 5th one is public.
It is 1, 2. It's 4 nonprofits that are going to receive public service funding at $10,000. We'll receive it at $20,000, and then the Historical Society will get the public facilities improvements funding. So that's 4 nonprofits.
Yeah.
And then the city under the public service. Is that clarify?
Any other questions from the council?
Yes, Brian, when I totaled up the numbers, that came up to $295,000. And then you had said that you're requesting $400,000.
I have 100 for residential rehab, 100 for rec center upgrades.
You said 75.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I said $100,000, $75,000 is what Public Works believes just the pool liner would be. There's also needs for a ladder or some kind of lift for the seniors to get in and out of the pool, and there are door issues, opening and closing, going on there as well.
Okay, so that's $320,000. The pool liner, I heard there was a huge hole that just happened in the pool liner. So what's the time frame for this replacement?
This funding will start September 1st of this year.
So So we wouldn't be able to do anything about the new hole in the pool liner that I heard about this weekend?
I did not hear that from Public Works when we came up with the $100,000 number. That was about 2 weeks ago. I actually had that number for the public hearing that we had.
Okay, so we're still at 320.
So I had 100 for residential rehab, 100 for recreation center upgrades, $20,000 for code enforcement, $50,000 for city hall upgrades, $50,000 for street improvements, $20,000 for the historical society upgrades, and then $60,000 in total for public service. 4 nonprofits will receive $10,000, and then we will receive $20,000.
Thank you.
So Brian, can you just speak about the historical society's portion of what they would be, I'm not going to say entitled to, but is exterior renovation, or do you know? I don't know what the application is.
The application states that would be primarily for exterior. They applied for $10,000. I suggested 20 because just in my conversations, there's going to be probably some more issues that they're going to find when they rip down the stucco and maybe rip down the front porch if they had to.
But most construction projects usually will
Yeah.
get to like this.
Yeah, so we want to move it over.
I just have a question about, it's not about the CDBG, but I don't know if it could be related to it. The auxiliary police building in East Park Avenue. Would CDBG funds ever be allowed to improve, renovate, rehab that structure? Would you know that?
Yeah, and it would depend on the use of the facility. It would have to probably become a public facility, meaning right now I think it's kind of used for storage. There's not much public access to the building. It needs to be open to the public so that residents can enjoy and utilize the space. I think this came up at the public hearing. There's a lot of issues with the auxiliary building. I know there's a lot of utilities underneath. That's something I know Public Works has a lot of information about. And it seems to be quite a heavy lift, but that's depending on the use. Yes, CDBG might certainly be used.
So there's more to that building than.
Yeah, from my understanding, sewer, water,
And that building used to be our water plant.
It used to be a water plant.
Yes, it used to be our water plant, so there's still some, I believe, some wetlands and other things on that property. Plus, I believe our, I may be wrong, but I think our sewer connection to Toledo flows through that property as well.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
I want to make a comment on the pool liner. If we have to have the pool liner fixed prior to submitting this grant, then we have to reallocate $75,000 to go somewhere else. So it's not to say that we won't fix the pool liner. Apparently, when the grant was prepared, there wasn't a hole in the pool liner. So I don't want you to think that we're going to wait until the seed in September if we get the grant before we fix the pool liner.
I knew you wouldn't wait for this game.
That's right. Yeah, when the application was put together, it was deemed to be a becoming issue, not necessarily an issue at this point. But I will check in with Public Works tomorrow and see what's going on.
Also, before you vote on the application, I want to make you aware that last meeting we discussed, it was about $400,000 that was left over from previous grants. What you need to know is that we do not draw the money down until we have actually expended the money. So the extra $400,000 that's been left on the table, it is with CDBG. And so we're looking at the money from the different grants that total the $400,000, how we can reallocate that to do projects within the city. So I don't want people to think, oh, they're voting on another $400,000. How much of that are they going to get and leave on the table? We don't get the money up front. We expend the money, and then we get reimbursed for whatever it is that we have done. So that the money that was talked about at the last meeting, it is not sitting in the city's bank account waiting to be spent.
Right, that's something that I think even FEMA, years past, you have to spend money first, and then you request refunding of what you incurred.
Yes.
So for those out there that think we're sitting on $400,000, no, we're not. We have been, I guess the word is, we're authorized to spend on a project, and it has been, in the guidelines, we will get reimbursed for that particular project.
Yes, even some instances, if we're not confident, this very rarely happens, and we don't use it often, but if we're not confident we won't get a reimbursement, we'll ask for an advance claim from the county, and if they deny it, then we don't. But that's not an appropriate use.
I just have one question. You had mentioned one of the potential projects would be repaving Park Avenue in the West End. I know Commissioner Miranda's not here because we have to limit who's in the room, but I thought that was something that National Grid was taking care of as part of the burying of the electrical lines and stuff.
Yeah, so actually you got the idea from a gentleman that's been coming to council meetings for the last couple of years, Mr. P, he lives in the West End. So the GOSER money, first, Public Works has done a great job working with BCG and National Grid to get them to do work before we actually do a road project, so I want to commend them on that. That's one part of it. The GOSER funding is really just going to address flooding. There's going to be flood chambers installed, I believe, at the butt ends of each west end.
Okay, so this isn't just for repaving,
This funding would be supplemental to that for
okay.
more traffic calming and quality of life, like tree planting,
Okay.
signage.
All right. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, item 2 has been taken off the calendar. Item 3 is a resolution authorizing payment to GovTemps USA and the transfer funds.
This is pretty straightforward and simple. This is to pay the search firm that we work with to hire Ms. Gayden. We'll be paying them $7,500, quite frankly, which is a bargain considering what I think we got. So that's it. Any questions? Oh, sure. So just one thing to note that because of the amount of this, service contracts and things like that under $20,000 do not have to actually be voted on by the council, but just in the interest of transparency, because we know that's obviously been an issue we're looking to improve on. We decided to put this on the agenda to vote on just so the public knows what the money's being spent on and how. So with that, any other questions from the council? Okay.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing publication of the hearing of an ordinance to amend the code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach regarding carry-on bags. This item's publication only, and hearing will be held April 7th at 7 p.m. One comment that I would make on this, we are being optimistic that we will be able to have this meeting and this hearing. However, if we're still in the situation we are now where we're limiting public attendance, we will reschedule that hearing for a later date. Okay, item 5 has been added by unanimous consent. It is a resolution affirming the declaration of a state of emergency within the city of Long Beach.
Okay, so what we're doing here is on Saturday, the city manager declared a state of emergency in Long Beach due to the COVID-19 pandemic. What this is this just is putting an official vote to it to codify it in effect, so it will help the city when we go to seek reimbursement from the federal or state authorities for services we provided or things we've done that are eligible for reimbursement. This just makes it official, so we can easier get those reimbursements more effectively. So with that, this is something that's already in place. We're just reaffirming it with the vote. Any questions from the council? Okay.
On to the voting. Item 1 is a resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the County of Nassau for the purpose of undertaking a community development program under Title I of the Housing Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, and Title II of the National Affordable Housing Act of 1990 as amended, for inclusion in the city's community development program for the 2020-21 year. 4060 Will you introduce the adoption of this item?
I will.
For a second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
I will abstain from this district community development block grant application. And the reason for that is I am a member of the Long Beach Historical Society, so I know in the prior meeting it was mentioned, and I thought about it, I felt strongly that but I will abstain. Thank you.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Trusty.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 2 is taken off the calendar. Item 3 is a resolution authorizing payment to Comten's USA to transfer funds. Will you introduce the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Trusty.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach regarding carry-out bags. Introduce the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
It's just interesting that we had a program here that predates the state law, and now we're just going to, the state's coming across with their law, and we're just going to adopt it as well. So, I vote yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Trusty.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Finally, item 5 is a resolution affirming the declaration of state of emergency within the city of Long Beach. Introduce the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Trusty.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Make the motion to close the meeting.
I will.
Second?
Okay.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Trusty.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes, but just one thing before we close that we should have mentioned earlier. For the seniors that may be watching, or if you know seniors, you may want to inform them, for people 60 and over, that Stop and Shop here in town will be opening to seniors only, beginning at 6 a.m., and will be for 60 and above from 6 to 7:30, to try to give you some distance from folks, give you a little social distancing, as well as give you easier access to the supplies you might need. So just wanted people to know that. You might want to tell your friends and your family that are 60 or above.
It starts Thursday.
And it starts Thursday. Oh, sorry, and I voted yes. Okay, with that, again, because we have no good welfare tonight, because no one's in the room, that concludes the meeting for tonight. We apologize for the technical glitches. There were test runs done, and it did work during the test runs. So, thank you for attending and online, and we'll see you. And by the way, just keep in mind the situation with this is very fluid. Things are changing rapidly and daily. So, and the city is obviously adjusting accordingly as more information is being made available to us. So, we have a team of people that are staying on top of things, and please, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you.
Okay.